Hey Darren, how you doing?
Great, and yourself there.
I'm good. What's going on?
Just want to touch base about your new music and some other open ended questions, and then you'll be a free man. You ready?
Okie dokie.
So, Heaven is the new single. When did you actually record it?
About maybe 9 months ago.
Got it. And is it a batch of new songs, or did that just come about as a one off?
No, it's off of a CD. Well, I shouldn't call it that, but it's a full-length work called Yesterday's Tears.
Yesterday's Tears, how long was that in the making for? And was that a home recording?
No, I record in the studio, and I have a great guy mix it. I've been doing this long enough to have some good friends that I've been working with for a while. Professional people that turned into friends that I can twist their arms for low budgets.
And it, of course, goes back to Great Life, but even before that, when did this really become a career for you?
It's really all I've ever done. When I wound up in Reno, Nevada at college, and a bully picked a fight with me, and I kicked his ass. And it wasn't because I'm a tough guy. It's because he had me really cornered. And I came in the second semester, and he was one of these career college-going guys. And so then his roommate called me down to the boxing gym, and I wound up with a little boxing scholarship for Reno. Now, but I really never wanted to hurt anybody or anything, but it was just something that kind of came my way that I was kind of good at. And I was actually going to the Olympics trials to fight Sugar Ray Leonard. That's how old I am. And I broke my knee skiing a week before the match. And I met Ray Leonard on crutches, and he told me to put down the crutches because he didn't want anybody coming back and saying they could have. And, Ray was from St. Louis, which was like the number one boxing college, and Reno was pretty good too. We used to have to fight the lifers from the Reno penitentiary twice a year, which was, I won't go into that, but boy, was that a trip. And so it kind of came down to, I liked playing music, and that's what I did. I was always breaking into a piano room, doing anything but studying, and I really made the decision then. I had always been playing music, and, I was a kid who, in elementary school, the teacher would say, if you're good, well, we'll let Andy play at the end of the class. So I just really, it became polarized for me in that boxing scene when I realized this isn't what I want to do, and I'm messing up my hands. So I really made the decision at that point that I was going to quit all this nonsense and just do music full time, and that's all I've done. I've living in Vegas. I played in some bands, and came back to New York City and wound up playing in a lot of bands. I worked with a very famous guy named Otis Blackwell, who wrote Elvis Presley's big hits, and Jerry Lee Lewis. He wrote Fever, Great Balls of Fire, Handyman, Breathless, Don't Be Cruel, Return to Sender, All Shook Up, Great Balls of Fire. So I really wound up with a guy that, although he was not a star because he was a little blind black ex-drunk from Brooklyn, tailor by trade, I really learned the love of writing songs. And I've been writing songs for as long as I can remember.
And you get called a singer-songwriter, which is kind of becoming a little bit of an outdated term, but do you like being called that personally?
I think GOAT works a little better than a singer-songwriter. I was with Sony when Rick Rubin came on, and he was like running Columbia, working really strong, and I remember him coming in and saying that he was getting rid of all singer-songwriters. Rick Rubin, singer-songwriter king.
Of course.
But he came in, and that's what he was going to do, but that's not what happened. And singer-songwriter usually, to me, kind of takes somebody who's really not a singer, which is me.
Raconteur, is that a better term to describe what you do, given the multifaceted approach you've always had to music?
I don't know. I don't like labels. I don't even like when people refer to me as an artist because, artist generally in the industry means that idiot sitting in the corner that doesn't know what we're talking about.
Well, then we'll just classify you as GOAT then. But of course,
Yeah.
GOAT has nothing to do with the greatest of all time moniker that it's evolved into.
Well, I was with Sony when I was GOAT, and Sony hated it. I was with Interscope first as GOAT Boy, and I came to Sony, and I remember the conversation, what's your name? Andy, your middle name. And they said, there's Andy Rosen's working for us here in the company. So let's lose the boy and you'll be GOAT. and so that's how the moniker laid on me, and I consider it the good of all things, not the greatest of all times. And LL Cool J, when he came out with his GOAT record, I think he was on Sony too, because we got a call from his manager requesting my permission to use that title, and my comment was, you're going to do it anyway, so my blessings.
With the GOAT moniker and all that, you said GOAT Boy before that, and there was, of course, the Adam Sandler comedy skit GOAT Boy, which...
That dude, you know what, I had a great band, and we did a show, and some of the Saturday Night Live staff came, and that actor was in the audience. And I don't know if one had to do with the other, but they kind of happened at the same time. That comedian, you remember what's his name who did Goat Boy? Jim Brewer.
Oh, you're right. Jim Brewer did do it after the fact, a couple of years after Adam Sandler.
Before Adam Sandler.
Well, either way, it's, as a person who's been in and around the high level of music for decades, it sounds like you really do have a book in you of stories of interesting near misses and anecdotes. Is that something that's crossed your mind?
Yeah, I guess I'd have to go back to school and learn to write, but no, at some point, I guess, who really likes to stop and look back and enumerate? I'm really in the day and moving forward. Maybe, I took a bump on the head or a hard punch one at some point, but I really, I don't rest on laurels, not that I have any, or if I do, they're not many. And I do have, I did meet a lot of great people, and I did work with a lot of great people. And I do find that if somebody just gives me a little nudge, I got too many stories I need to be told to shut up. But I have met some great, great people, and I still work with Grammy Award-winning people, engineers, and who are becoming obsolete quickly.
Well, interesting way of putting that. So, of course, like everybody, you are cooped up at the moment, but are there any projects that you can talk about besides promoting your new single?
Absolutely. I am here, and I spend a lot of time on the piano, writing a lot of bad songs. But I've got a couple good ones right now. And I really look forward to recording this one song, which is kind of, my take on the temperature of the world. I was very moved by that Greta Thunberg, however you say her last name. I just think what she did was amazing. And so I wrote a song called Gonna Need a Miracle. And, I always liked the new song that I wrote. Like I don't ride around listening to my old stuff. I mean, I record the record and I listen to it to make sure it's right. And if I like it, that's great. But I find that the test for recording material is listen to it a couple years from the time you recorded it and see if you still like it. But I really feel this new song is really got a powerful lyric and a great message. And I don't like to go around pointing out messages and things, but when I wrote Great Life, I was demoing up songs with a fella in New York City who helped bring a lot of artists into record deals. And this was when we were cassette tapes. And I walked into a studio where we were demoing up songs, and he said, well, Goat, a Goat Boy at the time, everybody's passed on you. So, this is the last thing we're going to do together, so go ahead, write a song. And then he went back to his painting. He painted as well while people came over and worked. And my dad was a great father and a great baseball player, and we had a lot of tragedies in our life with my mom and other things, and he implored upon me never to write about personal stuff, which is what everybody does. So here I am in a very personal moment, and I knew this was my final swing. It felt like that, and I just came up with, kind of like, fuck it. Start having a great life. Start living with inspiration. And that's how that song came to form. And that song did pretty well. After Sony dropped me, the song got a lot of licenses. So, I guess I really am looking forward to getting back and recording this new song. And I'm looking out of my window right now at the little lake we have a little house on, and I'm seeing an eagle being chased by a peregrine falcon.
A little metaphoric right there. What I hear, the kind of recurring theme is the reason why you've been able to sustain yourself and be successful is you kind of didn't listen to the people who thought that they knew better.
Well, nobody knows anything. I remember being at Sony hearing, the big boss talking with his cronies about rap music as it was coming in. It was just coming in. And he said, my kids will never listen to this. We don't have to worry about it. And then same place, 2 weeks later, my daughter's a gangster. She knows every lyric to these songs. It's like, so, they're really looking to make a buck in the music industry, and they invest money. So I think many artists would tell you that nobody liked them for a long time until they had some sort of success. Then everybody loves you. And licensing is a way to have a success. And Great Life got a lot of licenses, and then I released an album called All of My Friends. After Sony dropped me, they gave me a check for $25,000 to go away. Broke my heart. I went and recorded a record called All of My Friends, and every song on that record got a license. And we're taking one of those songs called All of My Friends, which we never put any emphasis on, but it's really kind of a feel-good tune, and we're releasing it the 1st of May. It never got any light, and when you play it for anybody, it doesn't sound old at all. It sounds right on the money because I was using a lot of loops and samples, and I was coming up when all of that was just starting. I signed to Interscope, which is where Tupac was, and then I signed with Rough House, Columbia, which is where the Fugees were, in Cypress Hill.
Right. So, I'm telling you, there is a book there of messages and anecdotes, and you may not want to look back, but I think that people will want to read that documented story.
It's funny that you bring that up, because my father, being the prolific athlete and front office baseball guy that he was, people were always approaching him to write a book. But he worked with Steinbrenner and the Yankees, 77, 78, 79. And everybody wanted to know, what was up with Steinbrenner. And my dad would never talk about it. And they also wanted to know about personal tragedies that happened in our life. And my dad didn't want to talk about it. And his comment in his late years was, the reason I never did a book was because I couldn't be truthful. I couldn't tell the full story. So he kind of zung me with that one,
That's a unique perspective. And the next time I interview you, I want to hear more about your father and all that as a baseball fan and all that. But bring this to a close here, Andy. Any last words for the kids?
Oh boy, stay strong, stay healthy, and listen to a lot of goat.
Paltrocast.